Hey everyone, welcome back to Further Forward. I'm your host, Ashley Mitchell. You have another solo episode with me today, and I am so excited because I've been holding this episode in my brain and my heart and my body for 2 weeks. And I need to get it out. I need to talk to you. But first, I want to share that we've just surpassed 500 downloads for this podcast. I am so excited. I am tickled. I am grateful. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for just making sure this podcast moves a little bit further forward every single week. What it also signals to me is that we really do want to hear from each other. We want to hear other women's stories. We want to see ourselves in each other. We want to cheer each other on. We want to know that we are not alone in our struggles and that it's normal for the journey to be bumpy and rocky and to have pivots, right? That none of us are out here living these picture perfect lives. And we've heard this across every guest, from movement instructors to healers to educators to entrepreneurs, right? The story is the same. We're all just doing the best we can. So thank you for being here. Please continue to support this podcast, by listening, following the show, and also if you could leave a review, give it 5 stars, it would just mean the world. All right, let's get into it. So this episode came to fruition, I'll call it, because on January 11th, I did a sacred breathwork circle with Katie Mackin and Cara Duvall. Katie, you will hear from in a couple of weeks on this podcast, which just warms my heart because she is one of my dearest friends and I love her so much. And she's just such a crafts person, like just so wonderful how she holds space and the deep listening that she does. And so she held a breathwork circle for the new year on Cara's platform Range. Shout out to Cara. And it was about invoking and evoking the ancient goddess Hecate. She's a goddess of the underworld, and she is a guide through thresholds, through transitions, crossroads, liminal spaces. And she has a connection to the darkness and the light. So she's holding a lot. I was drawn to this because personally, I feel like I am in this transitional space. If you've been listening to the podcast, if you've been following my writing on Substack, like there is something brewing where I am transitioning from the way it's always been into something different that I want to create for myself. And then outside of my own personal experience, what I'm noticing in the world around me, particularly with the United States government, hello, we are 100% at a crossroads, right? We're at a tipping point. What the fuck are we going to do? Okay. We have to start, if we want different outcomes, then we have to start shifting our collective behavior, which starts with individual behavior. So this was very potent breath work for me anyway. Okay. And when Katie opened the space, she talked about how her teacher during a breathwork circle said, you know, if you're writing the same goals in your journal, or if you're writing the same things in your journal every year, then like something has gone wrong. You should not be year over year over year striving toward the exact same thing. And I was like, oh shit. Oh, okay. I'm going to hold this because this might be me. But I had to go internal and say, okay, why am I writing the same things all the time? And I talked about this, I think in my last solo episode, that I was complaining about the same things all year long. When I read my journals from the beginning of 2025, the first 6 months, that it was a lot of the same stuff, a lot of the same gripes and petty grievances and little arguments and all that stuff. And then, you know, this is the next level of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I kind of circling the same things every single year? So I'm like, okay, let me go let me go into this like a little bit deeper because I think this means something. I think it's worth investigating. I realized that what I'm actually writing every year are a set of goals and not intentions. And that's perfectly fine. But goals and intentions are different. And I think that now this is for me, the intentions are what help me reach the goals, right? Because it's the difference between chasing desired outcomes and then leaning into who I have to be in order for that outcome to even be a possibility for me. It's how my life feels to me. It's how I am approaching responsibility and discipline and self respect and sovereignty. Often I think we want the desired outcomes without having to make too many changes. I'm certainly, I fall in and out of that category because we're wired to avoid pain, and change can be painful, even when it's a net positive overall. So I'm like, okay. Knowing that I've been a little too focused on outcomes, let me now really focus on who Ashley needs to be to make those outcomes a possibility. And so I wrote intentions for the new year. And, I always share from my journal because why not? And I'm going to share two of my intentions. One of them is to play more, uh, to not go through this one life that I have gripping and white knuckling and striving and grinding and feeling like I am like running after success and I'm gonna pounce on her and I'm gonna roll around in the grass with her and I'm gonna hold on to her and be like, now you can't leave. Like, that is not the energy. My hopes and my dreams are creative and they're fun and they bring joy and they're around movement and service. And it's not that I'm not taking it seriously, but that I want to enjoy what I'm building while I'm building it. I want to enjoy the journey. I want to enjoy who I'm becoming instead of just wanting to just get there, wanting the hard parts to be over, because guess what? The hard parts are never fucking over, right? So play. The second thing is taking care of myself. And what I mean by that is that there is 100%, and I will die on this hill, there is 100% no reason why I should put anything above my own nourishment, period, end of sentence. There are people who, for any number of reasons, do not have this privilege. I don't know any of them. I don't. In my personal interactions, everyone who has my phone number, right? Everyone who I communicate with, I would argue that most of the people listening to this podcast, if you say you don't have time to take care of yourself, you are full of shit. I said it. Because you know why? It's not that I don't have time to take care of myself. It's just that sometimes my expectations of that care are unreasonable. Maybe I want 75 minutes and I have 15, so I give up. Maybe I'm underutilizing small but powerful things like 60 seconds of breath work. Or if I have 10 minutes before needing to leave the house to go get Zion, I can lie down on the floor and close my eyes. I don't have to scroll Instagram. I don't have to send one more email. I don't have to do one more thing. There are so many different ways to nourish myself. And so I need to be a little bit more open, and I need to make sure I am the priority, not what other people expect of me, not whatever signs my paycheck, none of that. Because like, I'm going to show up, right? I'm always going to show up to work. I'm always going to show up for my family. I'm always going to show up for everything external. That's who I was trained to be. I don't always show up for myself. And there's no reason. There is no reason why I cannot show up more for myself. So those are two things that are like, they are how I want my life to feel, how I want to show up. They are not, I want to make $1 million by July. I want to run a 7-minute mile by April. That's a completely different thing. If those were your goals, then maybe your intentions support those goals. Who do you have to be every day to run a 7-minute mile by April? Who do you have to show up as in order to make $1 million by July? That's the difference. Knowing who you are so that when you are taking action to do the thing, to get to the thing, it's in alignment. That you're not disrupting your morals, your sense of self, your anchoring in order to get to some goal outside of you. And I don't think that we're wrong for doing that. I think that most of us were raised in these hierarchical systems, this top-down leadership, the systems that teach you that there's a right order to things and that someone else is going to decide when you are ready. And so we chase that external validation. We look for more credentials. We wait until we have more money. We wait until we have more time. We're kidding ourselves. We're giving our power away, waiting for someone to tell us we're ready, waiting for something outside of ourselves. And that top-down leadership feels normal, but only because it's what we know. You can give yourself the permission to move forward. We say we want another way, but we keep waiting for someone more powerful to hand it to us. No one's coming to save us. No one is coming to save us. And if we don't change how we live inside these systems, then your disagreement is not resistance. It's just fucking commentary. It's just another hot take. If we are not willing to change how we move about the world every day to get a different outcome, personally, professionally, with our families, with our government, then we're just talking shit, right? Like, we have to call it what it is. It's like, it's not a rock bottom moment, but it is like you got to level set. A month ago, Mark was so mad at me. I hope he doesn't listen to this episode. Sometimes he does listen, sometimes he doesn't. I was having a really hard time because I made a lot of choices and trade-offs over the years, and I just found myself just sitting in my own shit. And I was like, I'm a loser. And Mark was like, don't you dare ever say that. And I was like, no, 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 no. No. This is the floor for me. Like, I need to feel this. Like, I don't need your approval for the word. I'm just saying that I need to be at the floor. I need to look at my choices clearly, soberly. I need to not continue to blame anyone else. It's not my mom's fault. It's not my dad's fault. It's not my dad's death's fault. Anyone I've worked for, with, anyone that's ever pissed me off, anyone who's ever been racist or sexist to me, anyone who's ever hurt my feelings, anyone who's ever trolled me, it is nobody's fault but mine. Had to have that moment because it's that moment that allows me to say, okay, well then what are you going to do? What's the next step? I needed to be there so that I could rebuild, so that I could understand the arc of choice and outcome. And we are just a microcosm of everything else. We're a bunch of humans making choices that lead to outcomes for ourselves and for other humans, right? Every time we vote or don't, it leads to an outcome. Every time we purchase something, it leads to an outcome. So it's like that self-responsibility. We have to kind of know what's at play to then understand how to move through it, because we will continue to repeat patterns if we're not aware of how much pain we're causing, or if we're not aware that there could be a different way. Mark and I went to this place called the Athenaeum. It's in Boston. It's right by the State House. And it is like one of the country's oldest libraries. So obviously it's a place where like my little Black self would have never been allowed to go in. Black and a woman, girl, forget it. I would have never been inside. But I love exploring these spaces and just sort of seeing the acknowledgments of how racist Boston actually was. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. People think that because Boston is in the north, that they had a completely different relationship to slavery. And, you got to know your history. This is not an episode for that. However, I would just say that that's not true. Massachusetts was 100% a major player in enslavement of African people, and the treatment of Native Americans and indigenous people is horrendous. Okay. My point is, as I was walking around, there was the work of this Black man. His name was Alan Rohan Crite. And he was a prolific Boston artist for a long time, generations time. And a lot of the art during that time was focusing, especially for Black people, was focusing on social problems and sharecropping and stuff like that. And his work is, you wouldn't have known that he was creating something during the Great Depression, because it was just ordinary middle class Black life in Boston, in the South End, and in Roxbury. And the community scenes during that time were just so vibrant. And I learned that he didn't want Black people being viewed as victims or curiosities. And a lot of his work that I saw in the Athenaeum was also multiracial. And it just looked like a community. And it wasn't that Massachusetts wasn't hit hard during the Depression, because it actually was. About a quarter of Massachusetts workers in 1934 were out of work, unemployed. The textile industry, the shoe industry, it collapsed in this state. And there was a lot of widespread poverty, and people were really not okay. So it was so interesting to see this other depiction of life as this horrible thing was going on. And I looked at Mark and I was like, this feels like my ancestry. This feels like what I'm a product of, because when I think about my parents or my grandparents or their parents, it's not like there was no violence. There's not like there was no white supremacy, no grief, no gaps in the medical system or the education system or anything like that. But art was still being made. Babies still being born, money still circulating, right? People were still breaking cycles. People were finding a way. And there's just this idea that the world being hard does not cancel your responsibility to live awake and alive inside that world. And the time is going to move whether you're intentional about it or not. So again, what are we going to do? I'm asking what permission is for you, what that self-trust in motion looks like for you. What do you do every day? What do you stop explaining yourself for? What do you stop apologizing for? What are you no longer waiting for? And I'm not talking about burning your life down. I'm not talking about, acting out of urgency, but I'm saying like your deepest integrity. I hope this is coming through. Okay, let me I recently learned about something called cathedral thinking. And this came from, there was a cathedral in France in like 1100, girl. and it burned down. Okay. It burned down 1100. This is like medieval times. Okay. It burned down and the townspeople were devastated. And then almost immediately they started to rebuild it. Okay. And not only were they just going to rebuild it to what it was, they decided to make it bigger, more beautiful. It was going to be a thing. It took 66 years. The people who started that rebuild started knowing that they would never see the end. They would never see a completed building. Some of the most important work that we will do is laying the foundation for someone else. Some of the most important work that we will do, we will never see the end result. The value isn't in like getting to the end. It's doing your part, right? We are both the ancestor and the descendant. So this idea of giving yourself permission, it's not just goals and intentions in a journal for the new year. It's not me, 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 me. What can I get? What can I do? How can I live my dreams? It's fucking everything, right? It's like me living my truth means that when I step up to the voting booth or when I go to spend my money or when I teach my child something, that it is in alignment, that I am being truthful, that I am being clear, that I am being open, that I am looking ahead to the world that is being built, the world that will be standing when I am no longer. It is all connected. Anytime I teach a DEI workshop, anytime I'm trying to teach anybody about allyship, everybody wants to know, like, what are the action steps? What are the action steps? What are the action steps? Like, what do you tell your kid? What do you tell your kid about ICE? What do you tell your kid about what they see on TV? What's the conversation when your kid has a friend who lives in a low-income neighborhood? How do you talk about how that came to be? How do you address your family members on Thanksgiving when everybody's politics differ? It starts with you. It starts with the decisions that you're making. It starts with your morals and your values and how you live those. This is, to me, not something that I'm telling you as like, I have found this answer and you should listen to this. It's like, I am literally uncovering this. It's like the truth is underneath the rubble and I'm like peeling back the fucking rocks and just working with it moment by moment. And then I come and I do these episodes by myself to share where I'm at in that process because it's so imperfect and scary, and taking responsibility is so imperfect and scary. But we got to do it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Just because you're building something that you may not ever get credit for, or that people may not ever see, or whatever, it doesn't make it meaningless. The Bhagavad Gita says that we are entitled to the labor, not the fruit. You do the work. You show up and you do the work. And it matters. And I love you, and that's all I got. And I hope you end this episode ready to fucking go. I'm ready to go. You ready to go? Let's go.